Hi everyone at home. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Angela Ferreira, a trustee of the Black Funding Network, and I'm joined today by Pauline Walker, who runs the Alfred Fagon Awards, and Juliet Jilts Romero, who is a screenwriter, a playwright, and a recipient of the Alfred Fagan Awards, and also a former colleague of mine too. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So, ladies, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's an extremely busy time as well with various things going on. So we really, really do appreciate your time. So, Pauline, let's just dive straight in. Tell us about the background to the Alfred Fagan Awards.
Okay, thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about us. So Alfred Fagan, just starting at the beginning a bit, I think Alfred Fagan was born in Jamaica and he immigrated to Britain in the 1950s. He was a boxing champion, a welder, actor and poet, and he lived in Bristol and London. He died in 1986 and was actually buried in a pauper's grave after the police claimed that they were unable to identify him, even after they'd been in his home. So when his peers within the theatre industry found out what had happened, they set about creating a legacy in his name. And after fundraising, they started the awards in 1997. So this year is the 29th year of the Alfred Fagan Awards. So I just want to mention the founders of the awards were Yvonne Brewster, Oscar James, and the late Roland Rees and Mustafa Matura, and Paul Stevenson, who died last year. And Paul was an activist for racial equality and was one of the leaders of the Bristol bus boycott in 1963. So since the very beginning, the awards have been supported by the Peggy Ramsey Foundation, and we're very thankful for their support, and we can't really do without it. And their support provides the cash prize for the Alfred Fagan Award for Best New Player of the Year. And there's a bust of Alfred in the St Paul's area of Bristol, so he was known as the son of Bristol. We also have two other awards that we administer and look after. So the Mustafa Matura Award and Mentoring Programme, which is a competition for newly emerging writers up to the age of 25. So they get a cash prize and they're mentored for up to 9 months by a leading Black British playwright. And so far, the mentors have been Roy Williams, Mojisola Adebayo, Juliet, who's on this call, and Winston Pinnock. And this year is the fifth year of the Mustafa Matura Award and Mentoring Programme. And this is funded by the estate of Mustafa Matura, the Garrick Charitable Trust, the Henry and Mary Kent Trust, and individual donors. And it's really important that we mention who these awards are funded by and supported by. And then the second award that we have is called the Roland Rees Bursary. And this is supported by the estates of Roland Rees. And it's a cash bursary that's awarded to a playwright to enable them to devote more time to their writing. So next year, actually, in 2026, this will be the 30th anniversary of the awards. So we've
So
got a long history.
I've actually attended the awards a few times, and it's a really, really lovely event. It's very joyous, it's very celebratory. You feel real warmth for the people who are winning and hoping that they really are taking a big step in their careers. And also, you've mentioned a stellar list of British cultural figures. So I think it's so important that we also do recognise those, and I'm really glad you mentioned them all. Those historical figures that have really helped to start the awards and sustain them. So that's really fantastic. So Juliet, let me just come to you. You've been a recipient of the Alfred Fagan Awards. And how has that made a difference to your career? And just tell us a bit about your background and tell the audience how we've worked together as well. Oh, and you're on mute, Juliet.
Take that off.
Yeah, thank you.
um, yes, so I started out as a writer, as a journalist, as a foreign affairs reporter, working for the BBC, working in countries like Ethiopia and Cuba. I began to turn my attention to dramatic writing and theatre, and I went and I did a master's in writing for performance at Goldsmiths. Um, I've always been very driven by news and current affairs and political stories. So I wrote a play for the Royal Shakespeare Company, which they immediately commissioned upon seeing my pitch and put it on their main stage, and won the Alfred Fagan Award for a play called The Whip, which was produced by the Royal Shakespeare Company. And what I would say, the impact of that was extraordinary. I won the award during lockdown, so I wasn't at the National Theatre to receive my award. But even so, the impact and the response was extraordinary. I've almost lost count of the amount of TV and radio interviews I did as a result of having won that award. And the pride that the Royal Shakespeare Company took in the fact that I had won the Alfred Fagan Award, and they devoted a page on their website to discussing that and giving a little bit of background about Alfred Fagan. So I would say that the award is not only nationally recognised, I believe it is internationally recognised. It's certainly opened doors for me. So, for example, whenever I've been speaking to TV companies like, Amazon, their US wing, or whether it's, Neil Street or Netflix, there's always this curiosity, but also they see that the previous winners. So, there is I would say not a comfort, but they know that the Alfred Fagan Award is has weight and is respected in the industry. And as you said as well, you've been to the award ceremony and you've witnessed the joy and the celebration. And that's where the power is, because I think when we celebrate ourselves, when we support and celebrate diverse storytelling in this theatre ecology and TV ecology, those looking in celebrate with us. They are proud. The National Theatre is really proud to host us. A lot of this is down to the hard work of Pauline. I remember meeting you, Pauline, I think it was 2014, and you wanted, you had such a passion for the award, but a lot of people didn't even know about it. It was still a bit of a quiet affair. And by working with, I think it was first the Tricycle Theatre and then the National Theatre, you're able to give the winners and the nominees and the people who come to celebrate a real platform. And I think that has been special. And what I would also add is that it brought me attention, even though I'd had quite a strong writing background, and I'd won previous awards. There was nothing quite like winning the Alfred Fagan Award. I'd won the Writers Guild Award for Best Play previously. Kind of blink and you miss it. But with the Alfred Fagan, there was press, there was coverage, there was joy, there was interest. I won in the year, we unfortunately we had the George Floyd murder and a real recommitment to inclusivity and equality as a result of that. And I think that the Alfred Fagan Award really helped to spearhead that. And as a result as well of the platform, my work became really well known to the National Theatre, where I was then invited to be writer in residence, and I am currently commissioned at the National Theatre and also by other theatre companies like the RSC. And I'll
So
stop
well done for all of
there.
that, Juliet. Thank you for explaining. And again, congratulations on your award. I think what you say there is so important about, you didn't say it like this, but this is what I take from it, that the Alfred Fagan Awards gives extra credibility to a writer.
Yes, I really do think so. I mean, I received credibility having won the Writers Guild Award, but again, it's that celebration of diversity, which everyone knows is so important in storytelling, and it was constructive and positive. Everyone comes, you've been to the award ceremony, you know that it attracts people right across the theatre spectrum in this country. Everyone is celebrating in a way that I haven't really witnessed in other kind of award ceremonies, not to take away from them, but I really do think that there's something special about the Alfred Fagan Awards. But also, it's how it emerged. I mean, Alfred Fagan himself was a fearless writer who died in tragic circumstances. Actually, he collapsed in the street and then got buried as a pauper. And as Pauline says, despite evidence, this man, apparently when the police entered his home, there were BBC scripts on the table. contacts of his producers. He'd written for the Royal Shakespeare Company himself, and yet he was quietly dispatched. And I think his spirit is with us. The winners, and certainly myself, we really believe in the sustainability of his legacy because, I would like to think that this will be going 10 years, 20 years, well into the future, as it should, because it celebrates us.
Yes, and celebrates him.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So let's talk about a little bit about Black Funding Network. So Pauline, you mentioned a various list of funders there, but you also came to us for funding in the last couple of years. So first of all, tell us, how did you find out about Black Funding Network and why did you apply for funding?
Yeah, so this was, I think, in 2020. So when there were lots of initiatives happening, or a lot of people thinking about DEI and diversity after George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. And I think I'd seen something online about this new funding network. And what I really liked about it was that it was trying to create a community of collective giving. And at the time, there was no other kind of funding body that was doing that for, Black-led charities and Black-led organisations, non-profits. Um, Now, I think there's the Baobab Foundation, but they tend to act more as like a traditional custom foundation. Whereas I think what's special about the Black Funding Network is that it's about harnessing power of collective giving. So that's something that really appealed to us. And so mainly why we applied was mainly our work is running the competitions and the bursary, but we're always thinking about, what more can we do to help and encourage writers. And so part of our charitable aims actually is, I'm just going to read this bit, is to promote, maintain, improve and advance education and the encouragement of the arts. So one of the ideas we had was to start creating a series of intergenerational conversations between Black theatre makers, and really wanted to see what we could do in that space. So we applied to the Black Funding Network for funding so we could actually create that conversation. And the first conversation was with Yvonne Brewster, who I've mentioned before. She was also the co-founder of Talwa Theatre Company, and one of the founders of the Alfred Fagon Award. And so she had a conversation with Lynette Linton, who's currently the outgoing artistic director of Bush Theatre. And so we live streamed that event, we filmed that event, and the videos on our website and on our YouTube channel. And I just want to mention there's a lovely link there with what's happening right now, because Michael Abensets, who won the award back in 2004, his play Alterations is currently at the National Theatre, and it's directed by Lynette Linton. So it just shows you the ecology of Black theatre making and what can happen. And so that's really why we wanted to, because we didn't have any additional funding, because our funding all goes into the prizes. So we were just thinking about what we can do to promote and encourage Black theatre makers.
Okay. And then are you carrying on with that conversation? Are there any more? Are you planning any more?
We're not planning any more at the moment because it's quite expensive to actually put those on. But next year is our 30th anniversary. So we are planning some to mark that. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we're planning something to in the lead up to that to mark that for next year.
Okay, so you were the one who came and you were there in the room, the live crowdfunders that we do, you and two other organisations on the night. How did you find it? So just talk us through the process, the preparation and the evening, how you found it.
So this was during COVID. So we were the spring fundraiser in 2021. So I had to go back and look this up. And so it was still a lot of things were being done online. So ours was an online pitch. So we were given support to how to write a pitch, refine our pitch, and then actually practice the pitch in an Zoom environment. What was quite difficult on the day was that obviously we were doing the pitch. We couldn't see any of the potential donors. So it was very difficult for us to kind of gauge if we're kind of connecting with people. Because I couldn't see anybody, obviously they could see us. And there's always a lot of competition for funding, as we know. And as an arts organisation, we know that the arts aren't always the highest priority for funding. But actually on the night, we were very, very excited that, the money that was donated was on a par with the other two. So that was very exciting. So we had connected with donors that were looking to donate to us.
Okay, so you didn't find the prep of it too onerous, or you did? I'm not, I
Oh no,
wasn't.
no, no! I didn't find that onerous. I thought it was very supportive because uh, I'm not a natural salesperson, so there are ways that that you have to, and also it's a writing organization, so we have to be able to write to appeal to a broad base of people. So I found the support that we got was really, really helpful. As I say, we wrote our pitches. Mine was quite long at the beginning. We were told to kind of cut it back, and then we were given some training actually to just practice the pitch, and then had some feedback about that as well. So we could then refine it down and just really get the points over that we needed to. So yes, I found the whole process really helpful, and couldn't have done it without without that support really.
Okay, well, that's really good to know. And then you came to our Spring Thunder la last summer.
Yes,
Yes, and you
and
spoke
spoke.
about, so how did you
Yes.
find that event?
Oh yeah, I thought that was great. It was lovely. There was lots of. I mean, I was a little bit nervous, I have to say, because I'm not always the most natural speaker. Um, but yes, I found it really interesting. The other two, uh, to actually be with people in the room and hear what they had to say as well, and everybody responded very favourably afterwards. And then the networking side of it, talking to people about charity and what we're there to do. So yeah, it was a lovely experience.
Okay, and Brenda Manis interviewed you, didn't she?
Yes, she did. Yes, she was very good.
So, just in terms of, because you mentioned some of the previous recipients, do you actually track your alumni? How do you go about doing that and
Yes,
keeping
yeah.
connectivity with them?
So they keep in touch with us. What's good about the Alfred Fagan Award is that we have a long list and we have a short list, and we're not. And this is down to the judges and the quality of the plays that we reach every year. So there is not a definitive number of plays that can be on either the long list or the short list. It's really about the amount of plays that are coming through and the quality of the plays that are going through. So they get that recognition. Um, in terms of the Alfred Fagan Awards, so we've had 28 winners. So of the 28 winners, six plays already produced. So you could enter the award with already having a play produced or not. So of the 28, six plays already produced when they won the award. And then a further 17 went on to be produced after they'd won the award. So we take some kind of solace from that. Again, of those 28, 16 of those winners have gone on to write for radio, TV, and film, or a combination of all of those. And that's about 60% of writers that have entered. So I think that's a really good indication of if you enter the award, you will get recognition. And then it's up to, we don't have the resources to really promote beyond the winners. But what is lovely for us is that people will come to us after they've won or they've had a meeting or their play is actually, even if they're on the short list, they go and get a commission. And people are very proud to actually say, oh, this play was shortlisted by the Alfred Fagan Award. That's used as part of the marketing and the promotion. A little bit like what Juliet was talking about before. It gives you that element of credibility, that your play has been uh, quality checked by, the National Playwriting Prize.
Okay, fantastic. So, there might be some people on the call who are interested in writing Juliet, and you've written for theatre, TV, radio, and all of them, I've got a sort of slightly different tweak to them. Can you just give the audience an overview for anybody who's interested in writing and maybe entering the Alfred Fagan Awards in the future?
I think the most important thing is to write. We talk a lot about writing, but it's a passion, and you just have to kind of like get to your desk and get it done, and know that there is support out there. Networking, at the moment, and we are going through really challenging times. As I said, there's been a real attack on diversity and inclusivity. When America sneezes, we catch a cold. But that's why, at this point, if you're interested in writing, you have to network. join our communities, come to the Alfred Fagon Awards and meet people, join a local theatre writing group. Some TV companies have writing schemes. Make sure that you are writing, you're reading, because you can't write unless you read. And track who's involved, particularly with the Alfred Fagan Awards, and never give up. I think that's really important. I do speak to a lot of writers, particularly young writers, and I've mentored a couple, some through the Alfred Fagan charity. And I talk a lot about creative resilience. You know, you do have to believe in yourself. It's wonderful when you get that recognition, but you must have a very strong sense of yourself as a creative. Um, Understand that, it has to begin somewhere. So, it's about finding people who are not afraid of the rubble of your imagination, but it is in community building. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I also, so just on that, because I speak to a lot of writers, and
Mm,
quite often they just are writing by themselves all the time, and
mm,
they don't share their work. Nobody else ever reads it,
yeah.
or they don't have. I mean, I'm a big fan of the rehearsed reading,
Mm,
letting, just your mates reading it so that you can hear what the dialogue sounds like
yeah.
and where the dramatic tensions are. But I just find that people just don't do that enough.
It's essential. And that's why joining a writers group, what I did, I mean, I managed to escape from the BBC for a year and I went to Goldsmiths to do an MA in writing for performance. And oh, that was humanizing. I had to get away from 24-hour news. But what it did is it networked with me with other writers. And then they bring in directors for you to work with. It's a real, particularly theatre, it's a really organic process, and you learn best that way. But the support of that is incredible. I am now an associate lecturer on the same MA now. And that's a wonderful experience to be able to mentor and help writers who are now taking that particular course. Several of them are Americans, and they're really feeling the shockwaves of what's happening in their home countries. So we had readings of their work yesterday. Some were uncomfortable, but then they kind of really leaned into it. And I said, well, storytelling is about sharing. That's the power of storytelling. We share our lived experience. We don't hide that away. So, schemes, writing courses, they allow you to get into that room and share your imagination. And that's what you need to lean into and don't be afraid of that. But, writing, it's great, to kind of like do your writing, if you're alone doing it, but there comes a point where you absolutely have to share because, it won't progress unless you can get feedback from others and get that sense of community and support from others because it's a tough old world out there. But I'm not negative about it. It is tough, but we have each other, and that's always my mantra.
So thank you, Juliet. So Pauline, both you and Juliet have mentioned challenges.
Mm.
How do you think that the challenge that we are seeing coming, especially towards DEI, how do you think that's going to impact not only Alfred Fagan but arts organisations in the UK in general?
This is a really tough and difficult time that we're going through. I think for the Alpha Fagan, yeah, like next year we're 30, so we have been doing the work of being inclusive, being about equality all these years. And I think by remaining consistent, we're able to do that. It might not be as easy for other arts organisations who don't necessarily have DEI embedded already within their boards or their leadership. It might be easy for people to, I don't, not putting words in people's mouths, but it might be easy for, or might be more difficult for those organisations to continue with DEI. I think what's happening in the US, uh, I mean, it's already filtered over here. I think, we've been living through it since COVID. And COVID really showed the inequalities that are there, not just for global majority people of ethnic minorities here, but also, working class. The inequities were really laid bare, I feel. And I don't think that at that time that people really thought about, well, how can we make things better? And it was only better for a little while. And we have to continue to be vigilant and actually just stand up for who we are. So I think, because the Alfred Fagan Award, as Juliet says, we want to be here for decades to come. And we are being consistent by what we're doing, celebrating, championing, encouraging, inspiring. And we don't want the generation that are coming up now, potential storytellers, people who are currently telling stories, to feel that they should stop doing what they're doing. So that's my view on it, really.
Okay, so let's not go so far into the future. Let's talk
Yes,
about the 30th anniversary because that's a pivotal
yes,
time for you. Tell us
yeah.
what you've got planned.
Well, what we've got planned is that it will start this year. So we've been in discussion with three theatres about running writing workshops. So Bristol, Leeds, and Nottingham. What we found over the last 10 years is that about 69% of the writers who entered the Alfred Fagan Award, they're based in London. And that's always been a issue for people who are in the regions, even though we are a national competition. And we have had people from all over the country win. So we have about 31% of entries coming from outside of London. And it's something that the board and myself, we talk about, how can we reach out a little bit more, reach out. So what we want to do is to encourage more writers from across the country to write, tell their stories and submit their plays to us. So this autumn, we hope to be, as I say, in a theatre in Bristol, in a theatre in Leeds, and a theatre in Nottingham, to run writing workshops. And Juliet, hopefully, is going to be leading one of those workshops. Oladipo Agboluwaje, who won the Alfred Fagan Award a few years ago, he's going to be running one. And so what we want to do is take 10 writers from those regions, give them a workshop, give them 4 months to start. They can come to the workshop with an idea or just come to the workshop to be inspired, and then they'll have 4 months to kind of write a first draft. So we're going to have 10 writers in each location, and then we're going to so we'll have 30 workshops, 30 writers. We're going to take 10 of those writers for their plays and actually oh my goodness, my phone is ringing. So I'm just going to stop my phone, sorry. My landline. My landline has stopped. Sorry about that interruption. Yeah, so we are going to take 10 of those writers and actually showcase their work in a festival of stage readings next year. So that will mark the 30th anniversary. So that's what we're planning to do. And both of those projects need funds raising for them. So that's what we're really engaged in the next few months, is writing funding applications and getting those funds raised. So I'll just stop there for the moment.
So, okay, so what can the community do to help you? What can Black Funding do to help you? You've got a platform now. Ask.
Yes. So what we'd love is for people to donate. That's always what we're looking for. Because as I say, the prizes are funded. For these extra projects, we need additional fundraising. So people can go on our website. We've got a support us page. They can donate through that.
And the website is, just tell us
yes, it's alfredfaganaward.co.uk.
alfredfaganaward.co.uk.
UK, yes.
Marvelous.
And our website obviously acts as our archive as well, so you can go back and see who's won the plays over all the years. You'll see Juliet on there, I think twice or 3 times actually. So she's won the Alfred Fagan Award. She's also was awarded the Roland Rees Bursary, and as I said earlier, she's the mentor for our Mustafa Matura Award and Mentoring Program. So yes, please go on our website, donate. I think if you could always mention us in your newsletters, which are fantastic. They come out on a regular basis. And if people want to get involved in what we're doing, is just get in touch with us through the website as well.
Okay. And do you have any other social media, Instagram, any of those things?
Yes, we
Tell us
do.
about
So
those.
we actually launched our Instagram last year. So the team has grown. The team just used to be me operationally, but now we have an administrator as well. So we've launched our Instagram last year. We've been on X and Facebook for ages as well. So you can find those links on our website as well.
Okay. And Juliet, what do you think, apart from the fundraising for the next stage, what else do you think people could do in order to help you?
I think that people need to submit their stories. I think particularly people who are living in the regions when this is announced to, really come forward and kind of like intersect with theatres and to meet us and to yeah start writing and sharing their work. I really want to add something about why it's so important to be positive, but to remember if we just take a step back that we've been doing this for a long time. We stand on the shoulders of greats. Alfred Fagon. Angela, you produced Windrush Chronicles in difficult circumstances, We need more of that. But this is how we celebrate ourselves. This is what we need to remember. This is the momentum. So I've got goosebumps now just talking about it. I don't want people to feel flattened or undermined by what's happening across the Atlantic. It's going to be tough, but we always meet those challenges. And I think that this anniversary is a fantastic way to meet those challenges and put something very positive out there. Because imagine if someone like Alfred Fagan were, alive today, he would be in awe of our winners. He would have
Yes.
been in awe of the Windrush Chronicles on TV. I can just see him hear his voice, watching and celebrating that joy, or having the opportunity to come and to award ceremonies and just look at the amount how the landscape has changed because of that, his creative resilience.
Yeah.
So for me, this 30th anniversary, I think, is about how we demonstrate and display our creative resilience.
So just to clarify, thank you for that, Juliet. Just to clarify what Juliet was saying there. So I we worked on a series called Soon Gone, a Windrush Chronicle for the BBC. It's still on BBC iPlayer. And Juliet was one of I think there were eight episodes. So and I think most of you had not written for television before.
I have
Um,
done pilots, but
Yes, yeah, but most of the writers hadn't. And actually, one of the joy of it was the writers' rooms.
yeah.
We had such a great amount of fun collaborating on what the storylines were going to be and telling stories about our parents and how we'd grown up and the food we'd eaten and where we'd lived and all of that sort of thing. So I think that sort of goes back to what we were both saying before about when you share your work, you actually get that process as well through that, and it sparks other things. And actually, some of the writers from Soon Gone, a Windrush Chronicle, and the directors actually worked together again subsequently and formed very good partnerships. So yeah, I'm really proud of that series and really proud of everybody who was involved in it because we also had four women of color directors as well. So and that was probably quite an unusual thing to have. So yeah, yeah, lots of people have done really nice things together because of that collaboration at that time.
And that's what's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, the
So
way that we survive now is through community and working together, you know.
yeah, I really do think that the power of collaboration is um so important. Everyone who's ever heard me talk about anything, I always say that only one is the lonely one.
Mm.
And I genuinely believe that. I think if you come together, you're much, much stronger, as was proved with Soon Gone and the various other things and the things that Alfred Fagan Awards is doing, and Black Funding Network, because we've come together and we're helping people um, uh, and I hope will grow as Alfred Fagon will grow. So let me just see if there are any questions or anything online. I don't think we have anything at the moment. We've probably talked about absolutely everything. Um, so let me just ask you, Pauline, beyond the 30th anniversary, what's going to come after that for Alfred Fagon?
The continuation of the awards, but also the continuation of the writing workshops. We don't want that to just be a one-off. I think we want to help build connections and relationships with lots of regional theatres, and helping introduce them to writers that they may not have had access to or know about through the writing workshops. So we already have a theatre in Birmingham that wants to be the next iteration of the writing workshops. So we want to run at least a minimum of 3 a year. We'll get a lot of learnings from what will happen later in the year. But yes, that's what we want to continue doing, is supporting and inspiring and encouraging writers. So, and we're always open to ideas about how we can do that, and projects that we would run that kind of fall under our mission statement as well. I mean, we just had a conversation with somebody last week that came to us to say that we love the Alfred Fagan Award, we love what it stands for. Have you ever thought about having ambassadors who are people that would champion us throughout the year? So we're looking at that and what that would entail and how that would work. So that's an idea that we're actively looking at.
Yeah, and do you know what? I do think that that is a good idea because so many people now have their own websites for example. So just having something on the bottom of their website, winner of this, winner of that, ambassador, and it's something it's just being clocked subconsciously. So the name is spreading. So I do think that that's a good idea if you can make it work. I mean, the problem
Yeah.
with all of these things is that you've got to then manage all the people and give them their messaging, etc. But Pauline, you've been a wonder at Alfred Fagan, doing most of it by yourself all these years. So you can manage it. Juliet, sorry, you're coming in there.
No, I was just saying, I mean, I think Pauline has done an extraordinary job, in, just getting this visible and respected and celebrated because it existed, but it wasn't really known, and you managed to get it to a place where audiences could come and share in the actual, awards and meet the writers. It's brilliant.
Okay.
I I also want to give a shout out to the board that we have, who are majority Black board in theatre, friends of and also our judges over the years as well. They're people that Black theatre makers. So and they all work as volunteers. So there's, none of this could have been done just by myself. It's with the team, with the board that are very proactive, and our judges and that we've had over the years. So I want to thank everybody. It's not just, I've been involved for like 14 years, but this has been going, quite a few years before I got on board. But yeah, it's a really wonderful organisation to work for. And as I say, yes, we now have the two members of the team, so that's great as well.
You will grow a lot more.
Yes.
So if we haven't got any questions, I think we're nearly at time, not far off. What I will say before we wrap up is that Black Funding Network has got a spring funder on the 24th of April. So you can sign up on our webpage or on LinkedIn or the Instagram link that we have. And that will be in this, all the details will be online, and that'll be in the city. And then we'll have a a spring mixer again, for new supporters and past grantees to come along, and then we're going to have another funder in September. So that's a diary for this year. And please sign up as well to Black Funding Network newsletter, because we do also highlight our past grantees and who we're collaborating with, and bring you news from, the States and elsewhere. So that's something else, and the newsletter is actually, I think, very interesting, with lots of information in it. So for now, I would just really, really love to thank Pauline Walker and Juliet Jolts Romero. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for talking about Alfred Fagon Awards. Thanks for applying to Black Funding Network. So pleased that the money was useful. Um, and if anybody didn't see that conversation between Yvonne and Lynette, I really do recommend that you watch it because it is a really heartwarming, intergenerational theatre conversation full of love and joy as well, I think. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely have a look at the website for that. And thank you very much, ladies. Have a wonderful weekend, International Women's Day as well. So I hope you have fun and we'll catch up again soon. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.